Hi everyone, my name is Stormy, and I'm going to tell you about the truth that made me hate my sister. At the time, I didn't expect more betrayal from her. My sister's name is Gail. She lived with her grandmother for a long time because she wanted to, and recently she moved back home to live with me. That's not to say that I was straightforwardly happy. I didn't really care. Everything was different between us, our rooms, our clothes, and we only crossed paths at family dinners and celebrations. One day, after such a joint family banquet in a restaurant, we were about to go home. At the exit, in the check room, I just couldn't find my phone for a long time. I thought I had left it somewhere, and then a cute guy came running in, Arthur. He said that I had dropped it, and one of the guests tried to grab it, and he managed to stop them. I thanked him. It was nice of him. Then my sister came over and called me into the car. I quickly texted Arthur's phone number because I liked him a lot, and told him I wanted to thank him. "Text me," I said at the end, and left. And he wrote, right away. The next day, we went on a date. Arthur turned out to be a great guy, and we started to go out together. One day, we bumped into Gail at one of our dates at the movies. She pretended she didn't know us and walked on with her friends. "Wow, she didn't even say hello to you." "Why me?" "Well, she didn't respect you as my boyfriend. That's disrespectful to me, too." Arthur tried to calm me down by telling me that it didn't mean anything. I went off to the restroom, leaving him alone for a few minutes. "Wait for me at the exit outside," I asked him, and when I came out, I saw him talking to Gail about something from a distance. My sister is back to me, and I could tell by the look on Arthur's face that he wasn't happy about something. When I got closer, he walked abruptly toward me and hugged me and pulled me in the other direction. "What happened?" "I need to tell you something." "What is it?" But Arthur didn't have time. My mom called me, and I answered the phone and heard that my dog Gina had chewed on her shoes again. That meant I was finished. "I'm sorry, honey, but I have to run on urgent business. Let's talk tomorrow." I kissed him and ran off. In the evening, we crossed paths with Gail in the bathroom, and I asked her why she didn't say hello when she saw me and Arthur, to which my sister replied that she hadn't noticed. It sounded implausible. Then I asked for her phone to call someone because my phone was busy charging. My sister gave it to me and went into the bathroom, and I went into the yard and dialed Arthur's number. What? Does she have my boyfriend's number? How did she get it? Arthur, X? What the hell is going on here? Had these two met before? And what were they talking about between them? Why the fuck didn't they tell me about anything? Okay, him, but her? She's my sister after all. So she saw us meet at the dressing room, knew I was dating him, and yet she didn't say anything? How could she do that to me? They were talking about something else while I was in the bathroom. I hate it. I hate them both. I went into the room and found a missed call on my phone from Arthur. I blocked it. I didn't want to talk. "That scumbag is also calling me!" I shouted. That's when my sister walked in. "Sorry, can I have my phone back, please?" Yeah, right. Here you go." My sister headed for the door, and I called out to her before she left. "Gail, what do you think about Arthur anyway?" Why are you asking all of a sudden?" "Well, it's just a guy's a guy. I don't know." "Well, judging from the fact that you were standing there talking so animatedly with him, do you know each other?" "Oh, you mean that? Whatever. Ask your boyfriend if you want." She walked out, and I was so angry. Why does it have to be like this? I liked him so much. I walked around in a bad mood. I didn't talk to anyone, and I didn't answer Arthur's calls. Then suddenly it occurred to me that it was mostly my sister's fault. She knew I'd given Arthur my number, and she didn't stop me, didn't tell me right away, that's for sure. How could Arthur know? Maybe he was too ashamed to admit it, and there was something he wanted to tell me. What was it? While I was thinking, I didn't notice that I was pouring water past my glass. Then Gail came over and helped me wipe the table. "Where are you flying? Thinking about your boyfriend?" "Yeah." "Listen, what would you do if you found out that your boyfriend was your significant other's ex-boyfriend's boyfriend?" "I don't know. Why would you ask?" "No reason. A friend told me. She felt bad about it." "Well, yeah, it's unpleasant, but what's the big deal? One guy for two, it's fun." After that, she walked away chewing on her apple, and I was blushing like ketchup. What the hell is with these two? Does that mean she's dating him too? I decided to talk about it because my hatred was overwhelming. But as I walked up to her room, I heard their conversation. "Hello, Arthur. Where should we meet?" "No, Stormy's home." "I won't tell her, don't worry." She's at home. She hasn't been out lately. At the cafe near your house? Okay, I'll be there in an hour. Bye. She hung up, and my heart dropped to my heels. You cannot imagine how I felt at that moment. My boyfriend was not only my sister's ex, but they were also dating behind my back. That's normal, right? It's fun for them to play double standards. I quickly got dressed and sat down on the couch. Gail said before she left, "I'm going to a friend's, I'll be out late," and left. Yeah, to a friend, she said. Went to my boyfriend's house on a date. I hate them. She got in her car and I caught a cab. We drove to Arthur's house where he was waiting for her. They met at a table, and I went inside the cafe and sat at a free table, but it was far away, so I could hardly hear anything. I decided to get closer, got up from the table, and walked crouching down, afraid they would notice me, when suddenly a waiter appeared in front of me. "Good afternoon. How many of you are there?" he asked loudly, and Gail turned around. I abruptly hugged the waiter around the waist and bumped my head against his chest. He was confused. I pointed my finger at him like, "Shh," and dragged him behind me. I sat down where I'd been sitting. I watched from a distance. They were talking about something. Gail pulled out a pouch and handed it to Arthur, who stood up and hugged her. He hugged her. She hugged him back, and then he sat down next to her and they started watching something on his phone. Oh no, that won't do. I walked in their direction, and that tall waiter appeared in front of me again. "What do you have in your tray? Pasta? Great!" I grabbed the plate and threw it directly on Gail's head. She and Arthur both looked at me. "Here you go!" I shouted. Arthur grabbed some napkins and started wiping it off. "Are you out of your fucking mind?" I told him, and grabbed coffee off the tray and poured it on his face. Arthur and Gail were stunned. And you know what he said at that moment? "Good thing it's cold." "What's wrong with you?" "With me? What's wrong with me? You're dating my boyfriend, and there's something wrong with me? Dating? Wait, so what? Did you think we were dating? What else would you be doing? You go to coffee shops together, and you've saved his number as X." The two of them started laughing, and I just stood there and didn't know what was going on. "I'll tell you everything." "Yeah, let's get out of here. Everyone's looking." They took me outside and told me everything. I felt silly, to say the least. A little later, Gail left us alone, and Arthur and I went for a walk. "I'm sorry. I didn't realize that X meant former friend. And when did you two become friends, and then fight?" "When she was staying with her grandmother. We were getting along well, and then I got ugly with her. She helped me out a lot, and I didn't help when she needed it. She took offense, and then I met her at the check room and met you, and I immediately fell for you. And then I wanted to tell you, but it didn't work out." "Are you sure you didn't have a crush on her?" "Can't you see that I have different tastes?" I hugged him. Oh, well, I'd made up a whole story for myself. That's how it usually.
Hi, my name is Dan. I don't want to sound unassuming, but if you haven't met any guys who don't have a lot of nobility or something, well, I'm one of them. I'm joking, and I'm not joking. In short, listen to my story. I guarantee you will be intrigued. And yes, I will be happy if you write your opinion in the comments, as well as like my story. Anyway, at first we lived as a small family. Dad, Mom, Sister Abby, and me. We lived like everyone else. Abby and I went to school, and my parents worked. We did not often relax with the family. Recently, we used to like to skate, and go to the movies together, or just sit at home and watch something, discuss, play Monopoly, and then entertainment became less and less. Abby and I have already asked our parents to sit with us, but each time we heard some excuses, especially from my mother, and then it turned out that she wanted to leave us. Yes, it was a nightmare. We didn't even believe it at first, but when my mother packed her bags and said that she had another one, it was a huge blow for our father. I was even afraid that he would never come to his senses, but little by little, we began to cope. Several years have passed since that moment, and I still remember how my mother ran out of the house to the taxi that arrived and did not even turn around. Of course, I was so angry. Abby was more upset, and Dad was in shock. And so, as soon as we all came to our senses, Dad gave us a gift. Guess what? I already had a bad feeling that day. I knew something bad was going to happen. I'd missed the first class, which was an important test. The teacher was mad at me, sent me to retake, and Abby had fallen off her bike that day and hurt her leg. I rushed to the medicine cabinet, but there wasn't even a green card. My mood was already spoiled. In the evening, we were waiting for my father. He promised to bring us delicious food and a restaurant. In the end, we set the table and were already hungry and waiting for my father, when suddenly the door opened and a woman came in instead of my father. Dad followed her in with a bunch of bags in his hands, and there was food. We got up and said hello like well-behaved children, took the package, and started unloading them. The lady said we were really cute and ran to wash our hands and then started helping us. We looked at her questioningly, but it wasn't proper to ask her out loud in front of a guest, so we just didn't say anything. It was just before dinner started that the father said the woman's name was Miss Tiara, but she interrupted him and told us to just call her Tiara. We also introduced ourselves and started eating. Judging by the dinner, and the way father carefully tended to her, it was obvious that they were dating, and not so long ago. When dinner was over, Abby and I went to our rooms. Before going to bed, Abby said she didn't like Miss Tiara, but I asked her to wait for her conclusions. After all, our dad is lonely and it's normal for him to start a relationship all these years later. Our mother probably has her own family for a long time. Abby lowered her head and lay down on the bed. I made her promise not to tell my dad her opinion yet, at least until he officially made a statement. She agreed. Tiara had come to our house several times in the past week, and Abby still hadn't kept her promise. Tiara, she said to her as Miss picked up a glass of juice and sipped it slowly, "Are you sleeping with my father?" At that moment, Miss's nose was full of juice. My father was choking on the meat, and I was all smiles. Father scolded her for asking such a direct question, but Tiara stopped him. She told Abby that she and Dad are dating and she really hopes to be friends with us. My sister said that our family doesn't need such friends. "We're fine without you," she said. Dad scolded her again, and I excused myself, took her hand, and led her into the room. I talked to her, asked her not to do it again, and asked her to give my father a chance. After dinner, of course, we both had a lecture from my father. I asked him if he intended to marry her, to which my father did not answer clearly. Abby said she didn't like the tiara, but Dad asked her not to be jealous and to give her time to prove herself. Then he went to his room. At night of the same day, my father received a call from work and was told to go on a business trip urgently. This didn't happen before, so we were very confused. I didn't know what to do with Abby, even though she was already going to school, but she still seemed like a child to me. Dad immediately called Tiara and asked her to come. Yes, she agreed to look after us for a couple of days in his absence. It was polite of her, but Abby was hysterical. We quickly saw my father off and went to bed. Abby came to my room to talk. She said she didn't trust the woman, and I explained that she was just jealous of father, but that sooner or later he would get married. At that time, we had no idea what was waiting for us. Abby and I stayed up late that night. I passed out, and my sister couldn't sleep, so she went out for a drink of water. She woke me up in the middle of the night, and I didn't even know what was going on. Abby was frantic about Tiara going through Dad's things, but I didn't think it was strange. Let her dig. In the morning, we woke up to the gorgeous smell of pancakes. It turned out that Tiara made us breakfast, which was nice, and I thanked her for it, but Abby didn't even touch it. Then Tiara said that she wanted to make friends with us, so she came up with some games for us, and walks in the park. I thought it was a good idea, and Abby didn't say anything, but I dressed her and we went to the park. After walking for a couple of hours, we got hungry and returned home. While I was changing, Abby noticed something strange in the house, and she said that Tiara had found Dad's vault and was trying to break into it. And I didn't like it anymore. I went into my father's room, and Tiara quickly jumped out of there. "Oh, I thought you were asleep. Don't you sleep during the day?" She laughed nervously. Abby called her a thief and chased her out of the house. I asked her to leave politely and watched her go with a very unkind look. We called my father and asked him to come. An hour later, the doorbell rang. Wow, is Dad that fast? I opened the door, and there were police officers and a tear-stained Tiara. The uniformed man said they needed to talk to their father, but when they found out he wasn't there, he wanted to take Abby to the station. To my questions, he said that she was suspected of stealing someone else's ring. "Her," the policeman said, pointed at the tiara. "What?" I asked. "Yes, this is a mistake. It can't be. We see it for the first time in our lives," I shouted, but everything turned out to be useless. Tiara ran into our house and started turning everything over, and then opened the safe and pulled out her ring. Can you imagine my face? Abby started crying. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. And then he said I did it. I took all the blame. They took me to the station, and I told Abby to wait for father. After a few hours of waiting, my father arrived. He didn't know how to react, and the tearful Tiara rushed to his shoulder to cry. I didn't say anything. I knew he wouldn't believe me. He didn't take anything Abby said, because we're the only ones who know the code to the safe. And just when I thought I was really going to jail, Abby suddenly dragged my father home. She asked him to trust her, but I didn't know what she was up to. It turns out that our little smart girl remembered about the video cameras in our house. Dad looked at the records and saw everything for himself, then saved them and gave them to the police. I was released, and Tiara was put in my place. It turned out that she wanted to get rid of us, his children, so that we wouldn't get in her way. She only wanted to arrange their personal life, but we were superfluous there. It's a good thing we installed cameras a long time ago. My father was in shock, and for a long time asked us for forgiveness. Did you like our story? Then put likes, comment, and be sure to subscribe to the channel, friends.